Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
How are you all this evening?
Ooh.
On this rainy evening?
I feel a little winded, but I will get there.
Understood.
I find it's always difficult to work when it's really rainy and nice like this, eh? To keep going, but it's okay.
Yes, it could be.
We did a workshop today for San Juan North Form Ones,
Mm-hmm.
part of their 6-week social skills program. It was The information shared was very nice. The children had a good time,
Mm-hmm.
but it required the presenters to just let things be. Because you want to be so precise, you want to be so professional about things when someone asks you to do something, but everybody's standard is not the same. So you find that you had to be flexible today, really, really flexible. And you had to swallow what would be a normal response in certain situations and just let it go. Just let it go. Even if you have to make a decision to do something different or not participate in that space again, or, but you just had to let it go today. It added to the sense of exhaustion, but what was important, the children had a good time. So
That is what is
how
really
much they
important.
retained is for them to go home and practice.
You see,
I'll
some
just
with
it.
children, everything wouldn't stick, but certain things would stick. And when the opportunity arises or the experience or whatever it is, it comes back to mind. Yeah. So even though you think it might have gone over their heads, it certainly would come back to mind in due time.
What was interesting was how bold they were. Not bold in a in a rude sense, but they participated, they asked questions, they brought forward stories from their own life. They were really into the session. And knowing that there would be a lot of young men there, I let the male partner in the team lead the session so
Okay.
they could relate. And of course, the young girls just find he look cute. So trying to
Understood.
fix my level. Hello,
Understood.
Crystal.
Understood. Hello. Was just asking you questions, everyone. How was your week? Sometimes the week could get pretty heavy. So I don't know if sometimes you need to ask a question, you need to tell a story, you need to just let some things off your chest. And I could tell you for me because today went outside again, and the usual
Divines.
defines. They have begun. Just a minute. They have begun. So even though we have cut down a section of the tree, even though they are not attached to anything, just as vines and weeds do, they are shooting out more suckers down to the ground. And again, you just have to keep paying attention to your surroundings. Sometimes you think, okay, this is set in motion. No, it is not. It certainly is not, because it would come back. And then it reminded me of a post that Befitment posted today. Let me just show you all the posts. Let me share the post with you. And you're just realizing really that everything is a cycle. Because this is what the post said. The flow of all things reminds us that nothing stays the same forever. Growth flows into challenge, challenge flows into learning, learning flows into wisdom, wisdom flows into new opportunities for growth. Life moves in cycles, and you're realizing that when you look at it, that is exactly what it is. Everything is just cycling over and over and over again. And when you think of life and cycles, where are you on the cycle? Are you observing the cycle from frustration, or have you moved yourself from frustration into acceptance?
I think I'm somewhere in between. Just, on the and it's kind of going up. So moving between what was the first one? And acceptance. So some days, you manage to go all the way to acceptance, and then some days you still find yourself right back
Mm-hmm.
in between. I know I'm not beyond them, but in
Okay.
that space, in
Okay.
that space.
Okay. Because you realize at the end of the cycle, growth begins again,
Hmm.
and the cycle starts over. So, and sometimes while you're in the cycle, you're not able to see the whole picture because you're only seeing things from your perspective, not realizing that the process is the process. So whether you like the process or you don't like the process is still going to happen. So you really have to move yourself from out of frustration into acceptance. But for the rest of you who are logged on, where are you along the process? Are you a part of growth? Are you in a challenge? Are you in a state of learning a lot of different things? Or is wisdom flowing for new opportunities for growth?
I think I'm in I'm in different phases depending on the day, the situation,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Because there's some days where you feel like, okay, I overcome this. Other days where you feel like I'm still learning, you know. So I think it depends on the situation that you're faced with.
Okay. But are you more accepting, or are you still trying to fight against the current?
I think I'm more accepting. Now that I know what I know, and especially going through experiences where you see things working out, and I think understanding the process, because before things would happen and you'll just be like, oh, it just happened. But now that you understand the process and you understand the tools and you understand how things work and how it flows, the ebb and flow,
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to accept.
Okay. Because I know a lot of times, well, especially before now, the process would tend to frustrate you, deeply, deeply, deeply frustrate you because you're always thinking that you need to be at another point of the process, or you need this process to be something else entirely on the whole, something that is likable to you, not understanding that wherever you are on the process is what is required for your growth in the moment, but you really don't see it like that. Because even when you look back at your life throughout all the difficulties, you realize that all those difficulties and all the challenges, they serve the purpose. But when you're in it, you do not tend to see it from that perspective at all. You tend to see it as, I need this to be over and done with. I had enough of this.
You feel like even though now, and that's what I was saying, even though you're faced with the challenge, you try to work through the challenge, at least for me differently now.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that you wouldn't be frustrated or, you wouldn't want it to come to an end sooner or whatever the case may be, but at least now you could check yourself. Okay, you don't need to be thinking like this. Okay, you need to put this in place. Okay, you know, step back and breathe. Okay, be where your feet are. So you have all of these different things now that you could apply when you're faced with the challenge. Before, it's like you get frustrated because you don't know how to solve the problem. You don't understand the problem or understand that, okay, all of this is happening for my growth. Before it's like, oh my God, this person's doing this to me, or that person's doing this to me, or why am I going through this, or what did I do to deserve this? You know what I mean? So now you have a different perspective on, the challenges that you face.
Yes. Yes, most definitely. Anyone else before we continue? All right. So I know that tonight's topic is a very interesting one because it speaks about productivity beyond the workplace. And why is it interesting? Because we tend to accept whatever the processes are. If we go to a ministry, you go to do your nails, you go to do your toes, there is a process. But when you wake up in the morning and you look around, it's like sometimes things feel so crazy, you don't know where to start. You don't know where sometimes you want to do everything in one day, which is not really possible, feasible, or efficient. And you would find it easier to always accept processes outside of your home environment as compared to within your home or within whatever space that you are currently in. But why do you think that is? Why is there a process, whatever the process is at work? You need to log this information. I need to take details of this. You go to drop in a form at a ministry, you're signing up for something online, you know what the process is. But when it comes to you personally, why have you not yet adopted any processes?
I think sometimes because you get to the point where it's easier to place blame, you know, and sometimes when it's with you, you're like, it's still somebody else's fault, So, um, and when you have to look at yourself and analyze and do that introspection, it's not as easy to do as if we could say, okay, point a finger and this one at the job is their fault or that. So I think it's harder for me or harder for people to work on themselves, right? Because with working on yourself comes acceptance. This comes as, looking um at your true self, admitting your faults or, the things that you have to work on. And dealing with yourself sometimes is harder than dealing with somebody else. Because number one, we don't want to accept, we don't want to put in the work. We want everything to be easy, So I think that's part of the reason.
Yes. Catherine, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
Yes, I was also going to say that when it's outside of the home, for example, a job or a project or something like that, the consequences are very visible. The consequences are known, and it's not as though you could go to work and just say, well, I don't feel like it today. And then you still continue to sit in the space, or you have a project to do and you do not do it just because you don't feel like doing it. The consequences are known. And so there is an awareness of loss, potential loss, for not working with those processes. Even if you go to a government office, you go to some utility office, and you don't want to follow the procedure or the processes that they have laid down, what you facing? They just ignore you. The security put you outside the building, stand up in the rain if you must. You're not getting back in. But at home, One is a question of, okay, there may be things you need to do. You may just have one day. Is there a routine that you have developed? Is there a plan for how you're going to do this? Is there anything that or is the process that you're going to wing it? And somehow, I know for me, I might make a list of the things to do that I would want to do that day. And if I get to the end of the day and it's not done, I have ceased to worry up my head, unless the things that were supposed to have been done relate to befitment. So then that becomes an item that was not done and it has to get done. So, but if I have weeding on the list or cleaning a bathroom on the list, then it just is a question of, it didn't get done today, it will get done tomorrow. So I'm seeing it, but I'm not really giving it the value that it should get, that these things are mounting up. These things are stacking up, and there is a consequence to allowing them to stack up like that and not having some kind of flow or some kind of system to say, okay, 1 today, 2 today, and it will stack up eventually, but somehow you don't put it. And then I insert rest into my plan. So if I've walked around for about 15 minutes, moving up and down, then I would say, you should really rest. And then I'll sit down there, but before long, an hour has gone. So I think you don't really add the consequences for your personal space the way you would add the consequences dealing outside with other people's spaces.
Yes, because they already have processes in place. Whereas for you, you could just put it off. But putting it off comes at a cost. Sometimes we may not be able to identify at any moment. But a day I would look around home and I'd be like, I have so many different things to do. I don't know where to start, which puts you in a tight space, But anyone else would like to answer? As it relates to how is it so easy to accept whatever the processes are outside of your home, but when it comes to your home, you would always put it off. All right, so it is important to remember that productivity, is something that is often misunderstood as something that only belongs to work, but real productivity is really a way of living. And seeing that real productivity is really a way of living, how many of us live that way productively? Knowing that this has to get done by a particular time. Do you get it done? Do you let it slip? Do you let things pile up? How many of us live that way? Yes, no, maybe, sometimes, not at
I'm
all.
thinking that in recent times, to be quite honest, I've been feeling a little overwhelmed, but not overwhelmed in the sense of mental overstimulation, but in terms of, it's as though somebody's stealing 2 days out of the week and at least 1 day in the weekend. So you now feel as though they're just 4 days in the week, and you really want to get everything that you have to. You want to give your attention to every single thing that you're supposed to give your attention to. But I find that by Monday, I feel so drained that I'm thinking to myself, What is it you're not applying that you're feeling a sense of physical tiredness? It's as though I want to just run away for 2 days and just, I've already started planning a spa day, a spa weekend. Or it went from, I think I'll just do a pedicure. So I think I'll just do pedicure and nails. So I need a massage because worse yet, I have not walked in. Remember, I said I was walking 3 days a week. I haven't walked in about, the last time I walked was about a week ago. And I was experiencing some pains in my ankle. And I realized that somewhere between the footwear and one of the exercises that I was doing, the footwear for exercising and another pair of shoes that I find so cute, but I think it's causing a damage to the way my ankle operates. So I came back from walking last time I walked and I was in real pain. Just my ankle, a funny kind of thing behind the ankle. So I'm thinking I miss my walking. I miss my... So I eventually moved all the way up to, I think I'm going to rent a hotel, book a hotel room and stay there for the whole day. Massage, pedicure, manicure, facial, sleeping, check out the next day. Anything to sort of boost again, because it's not, you're getting a sense of diminishing returns, and that's not good, particularly at this time of the year. That's not good. So for me, I think I have to check myself to see what is going on as to why. So processes and things like that, productivity now. Even today, I started to resent having to go and do the kind of workshops I went and did today, because I was saying to Philman, it's 2 hours of talk, but it's like 24 hours of prep. So I start to, and the little negativity start to creep in. So I don't want that to happen. Because it's really fun work. But I have to go and check to see what I am not doing and what is causing this. So, or maybe I should just be on the acceptance cycle, part of the cycle, and accept it for what it is and work with it. So those things are coming to mind.
Yes. Anyone else? I know that it is easier to accept productivity outside of your responsibility, outside of your direct responsibility. So if it is created in another environment, it is easier to be accepted. But as Lisa is saying, in your environment, sometimes you want to put the blame on somebody else, why you were unable to do this. But then when you look at it, it all comes down to discipline. How disciplined are you as it relates to yourself, not just your environment? As it relates to whatever your goals are that you want to achieve, as it relates to your health and nutrition, as it relates to a class that you always wanted to do, as it relates to whatever it is or whatever. You have a lot of different things that you want to get done before the end of the year, by the middle of the year. And we are past actually the middle of the year right now. So when it really comes to you as an individual, how do you interact with discipline? How do you see discipline? How do you adopt discipline? Or is it something that you have a lot of difficulty with? Does that silence mean that discipline is really difficult for some of you? Is that what it is? All right. So I got a thumbs up. Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
It is indeed. It is indeed. As you were saying, I don't do a 9 to 5. I'm a stay-at-home mom. So I have a very active child. She's in everything. And I am disciplined when it comes to her. I know drop-off times, pick-up times, go and sit in on classes, sit in on the extracurricular, do projects, the works. But when it comes to me, yes, the discipline is not there because I always say, you know what, it's not that important. I'll put it off. I'll do it later. I'll get to it. And yeah, it piles up. And when it piles up, it becomes frustrating because it's like, okay, I have all of this to do now. And that is an overwhelming feeling. And it leads to further procrastination. And it is a challenge for me. That discipline for me is a challenge. I have it when it comes to my daughter, when it comes to running my home, when it comes to doing everything else. But for me, I realize that I don't give myself top or first priority. And that is something I need to work on. I was listening to Catherine and hearing about the spa date, and I was just like, that's what I need. That's what I want, Ever so often I take the time to do it, but not often enough. And I really need to work on that discipline and putting myself, my health, my work, my everything else up there in terms of priority. So that discipline is a challenge. I know I said that about 5 times, but that's to tell you how much of a challenge it is.
Totally understand. But when you know what I realized too, we have a negative connotation when it comes to discipline. We see the word negatively. And it is because when we hear the word, what we tend to do is you compare yourself to somebody else who does have discipline. So you're thinking, I could never be that. I could never measure up to that. I could never become that. But really, discipline is in the small steps you are taking every day because you really cannot. Now, I'm not saying this is what Crystal does. I'm just saying, usually, when you look at the word discipline, you have a negative connotation because you see somebody else do discipline a different way and your discipline doesn't look like that. But really, discipline is whatever the small steps are that you need to take for yourself every day, and everybody's steps would look differently. So for Crystal, she might need to get up probably 10 minutes earlier or something and do something quietly for herself, or even if it's to just sit down quietly, take a few deep breaths and see what comes every day, because what comes today will not come tomorrow. So this morning, she might take a few deep breaths and she might hear, okay, put away the clothes today. And she take the 10 minutes, she didn't get to put away all the clothes, but she get to put away some of the clothes. So she took 10 minutes, she put away some of the clothes, and then she went ahead to whatever her routine was. And she probably got back. Again, remember you're keeping your mind clear and open. And she finished cooking a little early. She took another break. And then the thought came back. Go and finish putting away the remainder of the clothes. But a lot of the times when the thought comes, what we tend to do is, oh gosh, I lying down, I scrolling, I watching TV right now. You
And
know,
Donna, you're spying on me.
I'm
That
not
close story is so true.
inspired because the thing is, it happens to all of us. It is really happening to all of us. And again, sometimes you think that you know what question came to me the other day? What were you doing when you didn't have this phone as a distraction? Ask yourself that question. And that makes me drop that phone so fast.
Bathing in the rain, playing
Exactly.
cricket, playing morals,
Exactly.
jumping rope.
Exactly.
Yes, it is a huge problem.
Exactly. And I tell you that in the moment, once I ask myself, I just put on that phone so fast. And then you realize as soon as you put it down, you're able to be so much more productive. You have this to get done, that to get done. Okay, take a break. You have this to get done, that to get done, that to get done. And you get it done so much faster. And I really don't think we recognize or even conceptualize the extent to which these phones distract us every single day. Have you ever sat and looked at how many hours you spent on your phone via your phone information? I didn't even want to tell all your mind, but still, it is a lot. And imagine if you just spend, and it's not even all of the hours, because sometimes, yes, on a very bored day, you're on your phone 4 to 6 hours. You are. So if you spend just a quarter of that time doing something productive, for half an hour, I am going to do this. For another half an hour, I am going to do that. And what you would recognize is that you get yourself into a rhythm. And once you're in that rhythm, you know, okay, this is coming up, this is coming up, this is coming up, and you recognize, okay, I am starting to develop a flow. And once you are in the flow, even if you might step out of the flow for a little bit, you would recognize that it is easy to get back into it. But if you just let everything fall all together, you would recognize, okay, this thing is a struggle. I am not getting on top of it. And the mountain is just becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But when you look at the word discipline, what do you all get from the word discipline? Do you have a negative feeling towards it, or is it something that you view as can be achieved, can be accomplished, can be implemented into your life?
I am still learning to see it as steps, as a routine. I still default to something negative in the sense that when you do not, for instance, even the walking, when I realize I can't go walking, then I say, but you said you were going to do it, and you said, you said. So you get a sort of anxiety over what you have not done. And because of that, I mean, I'm listening to you talking about the steps, just steps, baby steps. And sometimes, yeah, and I could see the steps. But, and I remember a very wise individual once told me, it's like, you know, you're going to the bus stop, but along the way, you could stop and admire the flowers. It's okay to admire the flowers along the way because you know where you're going. If you stop and start to plant a garden, well, then you're already off where you're going. And that was the first time I really looked at a discipline in that particular light, although I could tell it to clients, but I wasn't applying it to myself. And I still sort of default to the old way of seeing discipline and then having to check myself to get to the new way of understanding what discipline is and not chastising yourself when you feel or that kind of military precision that you tell yourself you have to have and you must do this and you have to give up certain things. And so I am still working on just working with the real definition, not the new definition, the real definition of discipline and letting go the anxiety over the other things.
Lisa, I know that you had your mic on before. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I think for me, it all depends on the situation. Once again, like exercising is challenging, and I feel like I don't have the discipline. But I feel like if it's things that you enjoy, it's so easy to be disciplined. It's so easy to get it accomplished. But things that you perceive to be a challenge or something that you really don't like to do,
Mhm.
you have to talk yourself into doing it. You know? So you tend to start to make excuses why you shouldn't do it. And then you have to kind of just talk yourself and convince yourself that, okay, I have to do this and try to just push through.
Yes. yes. Because even what you said, it reminds me of the TikTok videos I told you all once that I saw, where these persons were timing how long it takes to do the task that you don't like to do, and sometimes it takes 20 minutes. The task that you really don't want to do, and you're thinking that it is going to take so long. Once you make up your mind, this is what I am going to do, I'm going to get this completed today. Sometimes you think it might take you 5 hours, it might only take you 1 hour. And why do you keep looking at it and putting it off, putting it off, putting it off? And then, even just as Crystal was explaining, when it is something that you have to get done for your child, or sometimes a family member or a friend, you're there, you're on time, you have all the discipline, you know what all these steps are. But when it is, you have to implement it for you, for your well being, for you to become the best version of yourself. You tend to let everything just fall by the wayside. And that is really why Befitment this year is really to empower you as an individual to achieve the things that you would like to achieve. And achieving the things for you does not negate anybody else achieving anything. Does not mean that, well, your family would have less time or whatever else would have less time. It just helps you to see things more efficiently. It helps you to complete things more efficiently, because remember, your environment is a reflection of you. Remember that everything starts with you and everything could also end with you. But when it comes to you, how you see yourself, what is that? What does that look like? What does that really look like? Even when you're tired, sometimes you're still telling somebody else, yes, they're going to come and do it, when you know your body's saying, listen, in this moment, we need rest. You know that you're not feeling too well, and the thought coming to go by the doctor or to go and get a checkup, and if you know have other things to do, and you're always putting yourself last, and you're not even putting yourself last because you're not even doing it. So how is that even? You're not even in the line. When it comes to you don't even have yourself in the line. You're totally out of the line, and the line consists of everything else and everyone else. And again, the thing is, we always tend to put ourselves as first or important when, again, our back is against the wall or you end up by the doctor. But you don't always have to wait to get to that point. Why do you think we see ourselves as so unimportant in comparison to everything else? Why do we see ourselves as not as important as everything else? Because you are. And then you only see yourself as not as important. You only see yourself as important again when you end up by the doctor. Now everything could shut down. Before, nothing couldn't shut down. Now everything could shut down to prioritize you. So why not implement it now? What is the thing that is blocking you from implementing it right here, right now? All right, so I know that everybody is quiet. But it is just some food for thought. It really, really is some food for thought. Um, yeah, Catherine says habits, yeah. But it is a habit that you really need to look at closely and examine, why is this like this? Because I am not asking you, I am telling you that the people around you, your children, your family, they are seeing how to treat you based on how you treat yourself. Because remember, life reflects life. So, however you treat yourself is how everybody else is going to treat you. So, if they see you as somebody who, no, they would forego whatever they need to forego in order to do whatever or be whatever I need in the moment, that is what they would be. So, with your current actions, remember, the people around you will also, and especially for children growing up, they will be adopting whatever you are currently doing. So if you're putting yourself last, Remember, that is what they are also learning to do for themselves. This is not important. This is more important. I am not important. This is more important. I am not important. This person is more important. I am not important. This situation is more important. I am not important. This environment is more important. When everything starts with you. And I know it is very difficult to hear. I understand that, but you really need to look at the whole picture, because however you treat you is how everybody else is also going to treat you as well. So if you put no importance on yourself, when you receive it back from the universe, do not quarrel, please. Please, you tend to quarrel. And sometimes you want to fight and you want to say a lot of things. But just remember, everybody is learning from your example. So, how can your example be different? That is really the question to ask yourself this week. How can my example be different? When you get up in the morning, I know this is something that we have not practiced for a very long time, but start back to ask yourself the question: self, what is required for you today? Remember this when you get up in your morning, ask yourself this question: self, what is required for you today? I know you don't even need to say this other part. I know that I have forsaken you for a long time, but it is time to put you back to it is time for you to join the line. You may not be able to put yourself to the front as yet, but put yourself back into the line, because for some of us, you're totally all out the line altogether. You're not even in the line at all. So find out what is required for you today. And if nothing comes, what does that mean? Get some rest. Nothing is coming. So Crystal, if nothing comes, after you drop your daughter to school, go and sleep.
I will.
And if you're worrying about, you have to cook it, that food selling all over the place, all over the place. You could pass, you could get something to eat. And again, it is in those simple steps you are able to really prioritize productivity outside of the workplace, because productivity really starts with you and from you. And does it mean your productivity has to be at 100 every day? No. So if the productivity that is required today is 4%, then so be it, it is 4%. Do you have to guilt yourself and send yourself down the rabbit hole because your productivity yesterday was 150% and today it is 4%? You do not have to do that. What is required for yesterday is not required for today. What is required for tomorrow is not required for next week. You are where your feet are. Be where your feet are and stop trying to frustrate yourself outside of wherever you are currently standing, because you're comparing it to something else. Today is today, and not even today is today. This moment is this moment. And after you're completed with this moment, you will move on to the other moment. So see yourself also as being important when you get up in the morning. I know it might be difficult, but you would understand it eventually. And your current habits, mindset, does really shape your daily effectiveness and your energy. Yeah? And you see, when your energy low, for a lot of us, a lot of times you want to fight through it. No, go and sleep. Get some rest. Does rest means lying down and scrolling? I would like an answer to that question. Is resting lying down and scrolling on your phone?
No, because you
Thank you very
still
much.
have your mind active.
Thank you. So I was just checking to ensure that you all know what resting is. I am just making sure. So, yes, I'm seeing Gillis, your mic is on.
Yes, it is. Yeah, good night, all. If it relaxes you, if it takes you away from the the troubles of today, or if you're at peace, yes. If your mind not at peace, well,
Because what social media tends to do is social media is filled with a lot of triggers. So just as Patricia was saying, you are looking at it, but your mind is active. You're curling. You see something about the government, you're curling. In your mind, you ain't curling, although you see something Trump do. Oh gosh, now this going to affect me. I ordered something yesterday. Now the price going to go up to clear it. So you see, if you're scrolling and you are encountering all of these different scenarios, close the phone, put the phone down. When was the last time you read a book? I would like an answer to this question as well. When was the last time you read a book? Any book. Not a cookbook.
Last week
Okay. And what book did you read?
was Peter Kelly. Let me see right here. Still reading The Seven Pillars of Catholic Spirituality by
Okay.
Matthew Kelly.
Okay. Anyone else on this podcast? When was the last time you read a book? I would love to know. I would like the answer to that.
Do my weekly notes count?
No,
Okay.
it does not.
what about the papers?
The papers does not count either. That is a trigger to raise your blood pressure. No.
I read last night
What book are you reading?
Foundations of Behavioral Neuroscience. I was reading about the brain.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like you all to know what the examples are of book reading. It does not include your notes. It does not include the papers. Scrolling on your phone does not necessarily mean that you are resting, because you are looking at things to trigger you and it is raising your blood pressure. You might be unaware, but it is raising your blood pressure. If you don't have to go out and buy anything, if you look within your environment already existing, you already have a lot of different books. Try something new this week. Try something new. Even if you say you're reading for half an hour again, because I also started reading a book. What's the name of the book? The Autobiography of a Yogi. Yes. And it is very interesting. Yes, Catherine, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
Sometimes when I'm scrolling for a particular thing. I'm looking for any DIY projects, any decorating projects to be able to get new ideas. Or I'm looking for
You're conducting research, you're not resting. That's research.
But enjoying the beauty of what is being produced. That's not.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. When do you all give your mind a rest outside of sleep? That is the question. When do you all give your mind a rest outside of sleep? Okay, so I know that you may not have an answer right now, so think about it. Please think about it. And especially for the overthinkers. When do you give your mind a rest outside of sleep?
Good night, Adana.
Hello,
So-
Anastasia.
Yes, so I recently started sitting quietly with myself. So
Mhm.
I heard it somewhere that in order for you to get your mind off of anything, you pay attention to your breath.
Yes.
And I find that working. So you sit down quietly and you pay attention to your breathing. And somehow, like, because you're paying attention to your breathing, like nothing else not coming across your mind or anything like that. So I started doing that and I find it is working for me and I am enjoying it because It is really give your mind a rest. I mean, you're paying attention to your breath, but at the same time, you don't have all the other things coming at you, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes, and that is an example of what I am currently asking. Give your mind a rest, because if you sit down and you focus on your breathing, remember you're not bombarded with what is happening in the world. You're not bombarded with all the other things that social media does. You're not bombarded with the noise, because a lot of times we may not even recognize how much noise consumes our day, you know? And a lot of people, because of it, they are afraid of the stillness. They are afraid of the quiet, because once you are quiet and you are still, you would recognize that a lot of unresolved things start to rush to you. But again, just as Anastasia said, you sit in the quietness. You are not tentatively looking for solutions in the moment, but you are just trying to train yourself to be still. And once you are in that space, you would recognize that the solutions come. You don't have to fight up to look for any solution, because the solution will just flow to you because you are within the flow. And within the flow, you would get clarity. And within the clarity, you would know what your next steps are. And in knowing what your next steps are, that is how you would be able to achieve productivity outside of the workplace. But if you do not give yourself the time to really allow the things to flow to you, then you wouldn't achieve it. Because when you slow down, that is when everything tends to fall in place. All the pieces tend to put itself together. You know? So it really is some food for thought, especially for this week. And especially knowing that we are at week, I think we are at week 25. So you have 27 more weeks remaining. Imagine that. We have 27 more weeks remaining in the year already. We were just at 52, starting at 52. Yes, we are at week 25. So even for the next 25 weeks, everybody, well, a lot of people, they would tend to, you want to do certain things for Christmas. You have 25 weeks. So sit quietly with yourself and then you could plot it out. Sorry, 27 weeks. Sit quietly with yourself. Week 1, week 1, you don't have to achieve the whole mountain. And then you burn yourself out. You don't want to see the mountain again, and then the mountain back again in 2027. You have 27 weeks. You could plot things out. You have enough time. 1 week consists of 7 days. Each day consists of 24 hours. If you cannot find productivity within all of that space, I don't know. You could find it. You just have to get yourself more disciplined. You could start with 10 minutes a day. Simple. 10 minutes a day. You could start with 10 minutes a day. But remember, before you start, you're sitting and you're getting yourself quiet. And you're asking self what is required for you today. And you might get one thing done and you're saying, but hey, I get this thing done so fast. Let me go and do LMNOP. Is LMNOP required for today? Or did you get the instructions to do ABC today? If you get the instructions to do ABC, get ABC done and go and rest. You are no longer in your 20s, where you could get half of the alphabet done in one day. If you get the instructions for ABC, and mind you, after you finish ABC so nice and smoothly, you try to do LMNOP in the same day, and what you end up doing, frustrating yourself. Then you're vexed. Nobody didn't send you to do LMNOP. You send yourself to do LMNOP and frustrating yourself. Now you vex with the world. So if you receive the instructions for ABC, get ABC done, go and get rest. When you get up tomorrow, you quiet yourself, self what is required. You won't even get LMNOP. You might just get Z. Get Z done. When you get Z done, then you would realize, I really needed A, B, C, and Z before I do LMNOP. So everything is really unfolding as it is meant to unfold. Stop frustrating yourself. Stop trying to go outside of the flow. If something is not flowing in the moment, release it. When you release it, you would recognize that it was not flowing how you think it should have flowed for a reason. There is so many small steps in order to adopt and implement productivity throughout your environment, throughout your home. And remember, as you are implementing it, you do not have to compare your situation to anyone else's, because what would work for someone else may not necessarily work for you. You have 27 weeks, 7 days per week, 24 hours per day. I cannot remember how much seconds per day as well. You could dedicate, if it's 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. Sometimes you may not be able to dedicate anything per day, and you are resting on that day, or you are getting things done on that day. That does not mean that you negate the entire thing altogether and throw it away and start back in 6 months' time. You get it done piece by piece, and it would become part of the flow, and it would become a lot easier for you. But you would never know if you do not start. And that is how you can simply create structure in your personal life without pressure. And in doing so, you would realize you are starting to build a more intentional and balanced lifestyle. So through all the hectic things that are happening, okay, it is time. Let's go on the beach. It is time. Let us go and do what Catherine was talking about earlier, the spa day. It is time. How long I go to the movies? I'm going to the movies. Let me go and sit down. I could go and eat something by myself. I do not need company. And you have all these other things. Let me go on a bike ride. Befitment has a lot of different activities. Let me go do this. Let me go do that. You do not always have to be doing one set of monotonous things over and over again, getting yourself burnt out and angry at the end of the day. And that is where you would recognize that things are out of balance. And even as we are talking about balance, I would like to invite you all to Befitment's Be at Work session that we have every Wednesday, every last Wednesday for the month. And for this month, the topic is the hidden cost of burnout. Because, you're not making room or space for anything else. Because look at this lady by this desk. She looks stressed. She looks tired. She looks like she had enough. And remember that burnout doesn't announce itself with a dramatic crash. It creeps in politely, one yes at a time. Your constant swamped state is the loudest signal you're sending that you are out of control. So if this is something that you are interested in, or even you are interested in for your workplace, you can message us at 3361809 to join. It is free. It is at every last Wednesday for the month from 2 to 2:30 p.m. And you can attend. Once you let us know that you are interested, we would send you the link so you can attend it to learn about it. And even this would be very good even for the persons who, just as Crystal said, she's a stay-at-home mom, to help her, because I know a lot of times people think that it is not work, but it is work. So she and all would be able to learn from the tips that we would be given to everyone as it relates to the hidden cost of burnout, because also Crystal would be ensuring that her home is run at a very high productive state. So it is also something that she could join. And guys, let me let you know what is coming up for the rest of the week. All right. So Tonight we spoke about productivity beyond the workplace. Then tomorrow from 10 we have counseling and consultations, and from 6 we would be looking at working with life instead of against it. So there we would be discussing nature flows around obstacles rather than through them. And then from 7 we have our fuel and flex full body workout session, and for tomorrow we would be going down to the savannah. On Wednesday at 10 a.m. we have counseling and consultations, and from 6 we would be looking at when human effort meets divine power, how faith and action work together to produce results. So that is another interesting topic. On Thursday from 10 we have counseling and consultations, and from 6 we would be looking at the art of appreciating the ordinary, learning to see value, meaning, and beauty every day. And then from 7 we have our fuel and flex full body workout session. On Friday the 19th of June we would be closed in observance of Labor Day. On Saturday, if anyone is interested in scheduling counseling and consultation session, you could do so from 10. You could either do it online or you could come in person. And then from 3 p.m. we would be closed. So remember, you all have the same 24 hours. How are you going to structure it? How are you going to ensure that productivity flows into your environment and it is not just something that exists outside of you? Everything starts with you. Everything also ends with you. If you get up and you decide enough is enough, that will be the end of it. If you get up and decide, well, I'll do it tomorrow, that will be the beginning of it, because it will continue. So think about it. Have a wonderful week. See some of you all tomorrow. See the rest of you all next week. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. You're
Good
welcome.
night.